Gen Ken, I like it. You can get a student loan, etc. if you want, and you know, you can survive. And then the way that Scotland does it is great, right? When we get a student loan, it you only pay it back once you're making a certain income. And I'm going to turn my phone on silent now. Once you're making a certain income, and that means that right now, for example, I did my 4-year undergraduate degree, which is the norm in Scotland, 4 years. I then went and worked for a company for 2 years, and when I started working, instantly I started getting money out of my monthly paycheck, a very small amount, like £18 or something, from a monthly paycheck, to pay back the government for the money that I was allowed to borrow throughout university in order to have expenses paid for food and for renting, etc., which I couldn't afford otherwise. And so I had all that there, right, and had all that money and stuff, and then I was paying it back for 2 years. But then when I quit my job and I decided to go back to uni, which is perfectly fine, I wanted to do my postgrad, the payments stopped. They stopped charging me. They've not chased me. They're not trying anything. They're just like, nope, no problem. You want to go back to uni? That's fine. You're no longer making the money that's required to pay back. Don't worry about it. You can pay back later. And further, if I leave the country, it just gets wiped away. So if I go away, I think it's for like 10 years or something, I don't need to pay back. And that's just the way it is. That's kind of nice. It's nice that the country supports us so much. And Wayne says he has fixed this. I'm going to try refreshing this page. I don't know if I'm supposed to, but I'm going to try refreshing it and see if it says that it's working. We will find out. So it says I'm still streaming on there. It's still streaming on Twitch. And it still just says connecting on YouTube. So we'll see. Also, YouTube is freaking out for me. That's funny. It's giving me a notification telling me that I'm live. Thanks. I had no idea. I had no idea that I was currently live. Thanks for letting me know. So back to this whole idea about universities. So I want to keep going on about this because. So my point is that it's quite cheap and easy to do in the UK, and the question isn't economically, at least in Scotland, it isn't economically should I go to uni. It's the case of, one, should the government encourage so many people to go to university so freely? I don't mean in terms of economically. I mean freely as in choice. Because I think it's great that you should be able to go and study whatever you want to. That's fantastic, right? If you want to go to university and study, like, I don't know, like feminist dance theory, great. If that's your thing, then you go do that. You go do that, guy or girl. You go have fun. You enjoy it, and I hope you get a job out of it. If not, that's fine as well. Whatever you want to do, right? Like, hey, you went to uni to do what you want. That's fine. You have the freedom to do that. Well, my concern is, right now in the UK especially, we have a really big problem with our NHS, right? And multiple other facets of the government where money is not being spent, especially in things like psychology. We are really failing in the UK. We have absolutely horrible resources in place to help people with mental problems, be it suicidal tendencies, be it depression, be it a whole range of psychiatric issues or psychotic or psychological issues, right? Stress. We have very little in place to help people with stress. We have very little in place to help people who are going through tough scenarios in their life where their families are dying from like cancer or whatever. There's very little support available simply because there's no funding for this kind of thing. We have a great system with NHS. It's fantastic. It's brilliant. We do not have to pay for our healthcare. Our drugs are free in Scotland. So if I need to go and get something to get rid of a disease, don't even think twice. I'll just go to the doctors. They'll hand me some pills. I don't even see the price. It's all handed behind the scenes. I just walk in, say what I need, get it, and I'm out. That's the way it should be, right? Admittedly, the problem with NHS right now is that what's more likely to happen is you go in and they say, oh geez, you need a liver transplant. Like, you really need a liver transplant for whatever reason. Like, say you have liver disease, right? You need a liver transplant. That's the only thing that will save you. And we know you're in great pain. So we put you on the transplant list. So hopefully in the next 8 months, you'll get to the top of the list. So you get it for free. You get the surgery for free. It's all available. But quite often it's a waiting game. Not only does that mean that you're going to be going through extreme pain while that's happening, and the extreme inconvenience to your life while that's happening. I mean, trying to get on with your daily life while you're dying is quite inconvenient, right? But the fact that you might die, right? There's a high chance of death when you're waiting. There's a huge problem. In the past 6 months, this is getting even bigger than ever. Ambulances are queuing up outside of hospitals. Queuing. So the emergency ambulance, they're picking up people who have had heart attacks, strokes, amputations, severe things, right? Who have passed out, had anaphylactic shock, people who need treatment soon, right? In the next 2 to 5 hours, like really soon treatment. Those people are made to wait in ambulances, and what's happening is because they don't have enough money in the NHS to pay for the doctors to stand and wait and be ready for this. So they're overworked. So the staff's overworked. They're not helping as many customers as they should, and patients, I should say. And they're unable to actually do their job as well as they could because they're absolutely exhausted, right? So there's a huge problem with NHS right now, and that's one of the problems in the UK, right? With their current funding issues. I'm not even mentioning Brexit, right? We've got a whole bunch of stuff going on our plate right now in Britain. And then we have free education. And I think education is one of the most important things we can do for the future of our country, right? An educated populace is one that will be productive, that will be healthier, they will live longer, they will be happier, they'll have less stress, they'll do more exercise, right? More intelligent you are, the more likely you are to do exercise. All the above, right? So many benefits to having an educated youth. And that's why, obviously, school and high school is absolutely mandatory, should be, and is incredibly important. But we also have some other issues. Largely, that people can go into any field. Again, this is a Scottish problem in particular. They can go into any university field that they want to. Any. And it'll be funded by the government. Now, here's my issue with this. If we were doing that right now for doctors, for nurses, for medical staff in general, and we said we need this number of people, we need 20,000, 25,000 of this type of staff in the next year to go through this stuff, and we put the budget up for that, great, right? And those slots can get filled. Done. Okay, great. Then we look and we see how many therapists do we need. Okay, we need 40,000 therapists. Okay, done. Okay, cool, that's sorted. Then we look at stuff like, how many historians do we need? How many people who are studying ancient Babylonian history in respect to the modern Greek language or something, some abstract concept, right? That's important. It is absolutely important that we study these things. And I'm not in any way, which way looking down on the humanities, right? But that's where we say, okay, we need 2 of those, right? Like we don't need 500 of those people. We need 2, right? Because we need some people to be doing it. It needs to be an ongoing thing. We need to catalog all the information we currently have. We need to study it. Research needs to be ongoing. It needs to be a worldwide initiative in all the different fields. Absolutely. But it's a numbers game, right? And it shouldn't be based on what we want to do, because if we could all do what we wanted to do, there aren't enough jobs. It's not realistic. I mean, what if nobody wants to be a farmer? What if nobody wants to shovel feces, shovel manure, right? What if nobody wants to do that? Do we just starve? I mean, it doesn't work. Okay, what if people are too, I don't know, they look down on bus drivers because they feel like they're, I don't know, it's a dull, boring job. Okay, so do we just not have a bus service anymore? Like, do we bump up the price that we pay bus drivers astronomically? Do we make it so that those who are educated spend 4 years borrowing money off the government to go and find a job afterwards, and they can't because it's in an obscure field that's already oversaturated? And we've done these students a disservice, right? We've told them their whole life that they can do this. You can do whatever you want. You can go off and you can be this. You can be this thing that you want to be. You can do anything you want to do. And we fund them and we educate them and we get them qualified, and then we never once tell them, oh, by the way, this field is completely oversaturated and you don't have a chance to get a job in this field for at least 15 to 20 years if nobody else graduates in the field, and if only you're the best in the field. You also need a master's and a PhD. Also, the government won't fund those. You need to get the funding for that yourself, either through convincing an organization to pay you. Good luck if it's something like ancient Babylonian history, by the way. Or secondly, you need to pay for it yourself. So we've put them in this situation where they have £20,000 of debt. Admittedly, it's a great scheme for paying off it. It's fantastic, right? They've spent 4 years of their life studying something. They've set up their life planning to do this entirely. This one thing that they have in their mind that they want to do. And we've told them they can do it. And then we don't have a position available for them. That sucks, right? That sucks for them. It sucks for the country as well, because we've got a well-educated person who's willing to try and make an effort who can't work. Or can't work in the field they want to do, and they're going to be sad, they're going to be depressed, they're going to be down about it, right? Down the dumps. So my point is, perhaps instead of just saying freely anybody can do anything they want, perhaps we should look at the numbers of what we need in the country. Right? And then maybe we could have it so that the jobs that we need, anybody can really go into the education, right? Like if we need doctors, maybe the qualifications shouldn't be so high. Maybe it should be a case of, hey, if you can get through the first year, then that proves that you're fine or whatever. Like anybody can have their shot that way, right? But then the stuff that's like secondary, the things that we don't need as many people of, like, I don't know, what do we not need so many people doing? Funnily enough, psychology. We have a ridiculous number of people studying psychology. And that seems contrary, right? Let me explain myself. We need more people. We need more therapists, right? We need more therapists because we need more people to get psychological help and therapeutic help, etc. for many reasons as described before. Absolutely. The problem is the NHS has no money and can't fund them, so they have to go private or go into another job or get more qualified, right? Which has the same problems before. You accumulate debt because you have to pay for your own degrees after undergraduate. So these people are graduating like in the thousands. There's tens of thousands of psychology students in the UK every year graduating. Tens of thousands, right? Especially in Scotland. There's loads of them. And the problem is the NHS can't afford them. They don't have the allocation of the funds available to hire these people that we need. We need them in there. We've got the qualified people sitting there ready to do the job, but we can't actually put them in place because the NHS can't fund them. So they end up going and doing something else. They end up going into, I don't know, counselling instead. So they'll help some people with some of their skills, but it won't be what they want to do. They might go into childcare because it's vaguely similar. They still work with people at least. They'll go into helping the disabled, and because again, at least it's helping people. It's not necessarily in the way they wanted to, but they're still doing something, right? And that's okay. But these people are all getting qualified in a field that they don't necessarily need. And if they were actually qualified in the thing that they were going to go into anyway, at least they'd have a better chance of having a more successful career, and they'd have a better standing point, right? My point is, in the real world, where we have jobs, right, we hire people not because we feel that they deserve the job and because, oh, I want to be a carpenter. All right, we'll hire you. Not that we don't need a carpenter. I mean, we're a firm that sells fast food. But you know what? You want to be a carpenter, we'll hire you. That's not how it works in the real world. Perhaps universities should be modeled in a vaguely similar to how our world works, in the sense of what we need gets hired, what we need gets taught. Right? If we need more bus drivers, perhaps we should have that sort of track available more readily, more easily, and it shouldn't be looked down on in society, because there is nothing more important in society than providing to society, right? You want to leave the world in a better place than you found it. That's the one thing we can do in the world, is try to leave it in a better place than we found it. And there's nothing wrong with working in a job that doesn't require a university degree, or is done through apprenticeships, or is primary or secondary labor. Those are all extremely respectable jobs. I have nothing but respect for people who can get up and be on their feet and sweat all day and get the job done. That's something that I suck at. I'm absolutely terrible at that, and it's my own personal failing, and I recognize that. And I'm a good example of what's been failed in this scenario, actually, in a way, because I went into a field applying to be a software engineer. It wasn't given to me. I applied for it, and I was put into a generic IT job. And I hated it and left and had to go get further education to follow what I actually want to do, because I didn't have a choice, right? And I think there's a lot of people in very similar fields. Admittedly, maybe if I stayed in it longer, I could eventually find a place. Software engineering is one of the few fields that are growing, especially in the West right now, massively, right? Like, software engineering is still massively needed for apps on phones, for whatever else. So I can't really complain, right? But if it's even affected me, and I'm in the best situation, yeah, that's kind of my point. There are a lot of people who are in worse off situations here, who are studying at university for 4 years because they feel like they have to, because the culture says they have to. They feel like a failure if they don't, even if they don't want to go. I had friends at university who came to university because all their friends went, because their family expected them to, because their parents said to them, I didn't have the opportunity to go and you do. I want you to have this opportunity and use it. And I totally get that. I totally understand why parents would turn around and say to their kids, I want you to take the opportunities that I couldn't. I want you to make the most of what this country can give you, and the country that I helped build. You know, like, our parents built their countries, right? They're the reasons the government's the way it is. They voted the way they did. They put their work and hours into the way they wanted to establish the way that our society and country runs. And it's in a way right now in Scotland where you can do that and get educated in whatever you want to. And it's kind of a failure in our system. And it's both a beautiful thing. I wish we could live in a system where maybe once UBI comes into place, maybe once we have universal basic income, education will be seen as a thing you can just do, right? Totally fine with that. I think that'd be an amazing thing for society. I think that'd be so great if we have people who just follow education and academics because they have an interest. I think if more people study history, the wiser our society would be, right? The more people that study, I don't know, art, the more beautiful and creative our society would be. It would reflect in all the work we do and all the work we don't do, right? If you are just somebody who does education, your blog posts, if you have 6 degrees, I bet they're going to be super freaking interesting, man. Just having a conversation with you would be worthwhile. You know, if you are a thoroughly educated, and one day we'll be in a position due to automation where and we're getting closer and closer, right? Where we have a workforce that can't work because they're unskilled, and eventually that's going to be the only thing available to them is either education or just following their own pursuits, more creative pursuits, and that's where universal basic income comes into it. But we're in this transition period, and that's where it's so difficult. We're in this period where we both want to. We both want to improve our automation and make it better and you know, make it more seamless. We get our products faster, things are being created faster, being served faster. You know, Amazon one-day delivery, that's amazing. The fact that 20 years ago, the idea... 20 years ago? Maybe 30 years ago, the idea that you could sit down in your home, click a few times, and then the next day a mattress would show up at your house. That's insane. Like, people would never have thought that 30 years ago. They wouldn't know what click meant in the first place, to be fair. Maybe they think it's a TV remote. But imagine telling them that then. The way that our production lines have changed massively, and the way that we do our service industry, etc., has changed so drastically. I mean, you've been to McDonald's recently. Most people won't talk to the staff now. You go into the self-service machine because it's quicker, it's more efficient, and it doesn't screw up, right? Staff can screw up, there's human error. Automation is a fantastic thing, but the difficult thing in our society is not 100 years where the automation is in place and then we all have universal basic income and it's almost a utopia, right? I'm not talking about the stage where it's all fine and dandy. I'm talking about this transition phase. That's where we are going to be such a struggle as a society, because we're going to have this huge heap of people who are unskilled, who have spent decades of their lives working in a store, right? If you're a store clerk and you're just selling stuff behind the counter, good for you. That's what you enjoy, or whatever. I personally wouldn't enjoy it, but if that's what you enjoy, fine, right? That's cool. But I imagine most people do this just to survive, right? If you work at McDonald's, you don't do it because you love McDonald's. You do it because you're trying to make an income, right? I think most people would agree with that. We're just trying to get by. But if you were living on universal basic income, that would solve your problem. You can go out and do what you want, be who you want to be, spend time with your family and your friends, and contribute to society in a way that you feel is worthwhile, right? You could do that with universal basic income. But that's in the future. What do we do right now when we have robots, AI, automatic machines, vending machines, which come in and take all these jobs away? Which they are, right? Like, again, McDonald's is the first example, and it's going to come hard and fast. Buses will be replaced eventually by automatic buses. There'll be no drivers, right? Same with taxis. Eventually, I imagine there's going to be either corporations which own these automatic vehicles that will drive themselves. They'll just... You'll tell a service when you want to go to work every day. You'll leave the house at 8 a.m. and a car will be sitting there waiting for you. You get in and it drives you to work, and then it'll go pick up the next person, right? It'll be a service that you pay for, and you can pay for whichever tier of car you want, the speed you want, the luxuries within the car. You know, you can get a budget car which you share with 3 other people. You could get I don't know, who knows, a luxury limousine, but you pay extra per month. Who knows? It's going to be subscription service or something, right? Or maybe everybody just has bare bones access. Maybe that'll be part of universal basic income. We all get a car that can show up once a day to take us to work or whatever, if you have work. Maybe that'll be the thing. But if we have no drivers, if we're losing our drivers, if we're losing our fast food staff, our general store staff, we're losing our postmen, right? We're losing our, I don't know, the people who work in our cars, right? The people who work on our boilers, people who work in our house. If we 3D print our houses in the future, which is happening, right? If you haven't seen the video, go look it up on YouTube. It's amazing. There's 3D printing machines that can print out houses. It is absolutely insane. You feed the bricks into it, and over like 18 hours, it builds the house, cement and all, perfectly, right? To a plan. And I can tell you, The machine's expensive, but it's not as expensive in the long run as having a bunch of employees. And that's why we're turning to automation. If you spend 20 grand on a fast food burger flipping machine that can work 24 hours a day non-stop, doesn't require a pension, doesn't require healthcare benefits, doesn't take sick days, and it takes one repair guy to fix it, who also fixes the other 10,000 of them across the UK, there's not really if it costs 20 grand, but an employee costs 15 grand a year, the one-off payment of 20 grand is well worthwhile in a year and a half. You already made your money back. So, it's the future. I don't think anybody can ever dispute that the vast majority of our fields and the vast majority of jobs will be replaced by automation. There has to be. There are certain creative things, or pernickety things, or specialist positions that will never be taken over. Certain scientific pursuits can never be replaced by automation. Just can't. Sometimes we need human inflection, okay? I'll work heavily with AI. We already do, right? Who doesn't use a search engine, right? Like who doesn't? We already use AI on a daily basis, and that is an AI. We absolutely do use AI in our daily life, as we should. But the point is, in automation, how are we going to survive as a society in this transition period where the jobs are reducing? It's harder to get a job. You need to be more skilled and more skilled. You can't afford the education. The education that's given out is in the UK, in Scotland, is you can do as you please. It means people are doing what they want to, finding they can't get a job, and it makes them redundant. It's almost a weird utopian problem where you have the freedom and the financial ability to do what you please, but it ends in a dead end. It's a strange scenario. And it's not the end of the world. It's not the worst scenario we could be in. I mean, God, it's kind of a first world problem, right? Oh God, my free education wasn't in the right field, right? I mean, oh, woe is me. I have to get a job somewhere else. But in the meantime, it sucks, right? It sucks for the government that they're not getting the money back from these kids that they've put the money into. They said, right, here's 40, 50 grand I put aside for 4 years for you to survive. And oh, look, you can't get a job. Looks like that's money well spent, right? That sucks. If instead we said, alright, here's 40, 50 grand, and we really need you to do one of these things. Here's 5,000 jobs you can choose from. I don't see the problem with that. And as we move towards UBI, that'll be the biggest solution, right? Once we get there. The difficulty is going to be changing not just the system. It's easy to just start sending out paychecks. That's not the problem. The problem is going to be changing our culture. If everybody's getting a minimum wage, are we all going to want to work? We need to be in a position as a country where, one, we still want to work, right? Where we still want to work, and the UBI won't solve that problem, or won't make that problem, where it makes us stop working. Some people would, right? And that's part of the good thing about it, because we don't want everybody to try and get a job at McDonald's anymore. We don't want our kids to do that anymore. We want to tell them to concentrate on education. Don't go get a part-time job at McDonald's. Get an internship is something that's related, right? Actually improve your chances of getting into that field eventually. That's the ideal scenario. If you want to be an audio video guy, go do an apprenticeship in audio video. Go be an intern. Go work for a company. Go contract with your buddy, right? Do that during your school hours if you want to take some time off and do some work that way. That's what you should do. If you want to work at McDonald's, that's why UBI can cover you. If you want some extra money to go out with your friends, UBI should cover that, right? It's some people would say it's a liberal concept. I don't even think of this as a political thing. It is a technological, functional problem with society that is going to be rearing its head very quickly in the next few years. It's coming, and it's coming fast, and it's something we're going to face, and there's going to be upheaval. And I don't know how we're going to take it. I don't know how we're going to stand. It's going to affect university education. It's going to affect high school education. It's going to affect how we teach kids. Because in the end, how do we teach kids in schools, right? We teach them to go in and get educated to get a job. We teach. That's a lie. We don't do that. That's what we should do. What we do is we teach them to go to university, right? And that's not necessarily a good thing. I like the German approach. The German approach is you have these different types of schools for different people with different IQs and for different capabilities and different creative interests. If you're somebody who's really, really interested in the humanities, you can go to a specific school for that. Great. Really interested in sport, go to that school, right? If you're really interested in engineering, go to that school. Totally fine. Do as you please, and we can specialize in it, and that's fine. That's what school can do, and hopefully get you into a field that's related to that. That's fine. The problem with you in the UK is that our school system is just a mini university. It's trying to teach people how to write essays. We're trying to teach them how to write, like, how to examine literature pieces, how to do mathematical concepts, the scientific things that they, you know, like, if you ask any, you know, person who works in a shop, how useful was Pythagoras' theorem? How useful was your final year of school in preparing you for your job? I imagine some of them might say, like, you know, reading in English helped me improve my English language and my vocabulary, and that helps me communicate with my customers or something, right? Yeah, sure. There'll be some skills that are definitely transferable, and I think that's fantastic. But I also think we should just also offer courses that say things like, you know, take this course, you'll go work in a shop for a couple hours a week. You'll get the experience there. You'll try it out, or maybe not the shop, but maybe working in a lab, right? Work alongside somebody. Work along something and you want to do. You want to be a vet? Go work in the vet for a couple hours a week. That's part of your course. There should be this fantastic linking from a governmental level with all businesses, where they're almost required taking these interns and provide something that's educational for them. Prepare them for the workplace. Let them see what it's really like. Let them see what they're going to be going into. You know, not just for whether at every level, right? At every freaking level. That's the way it should be. Right, I'm going to check the IRC because we've been getting quite a few people in there and I've been ignoring it. And I've just gone on a huge rant. I don't even know how I got on that. Alright, so Hando says... I could never be happy with any other job than the career I have. Driving a city bus would lead me to suicide. Have you taken a bus in Boston lately? Damn right, yeah? I mean, like, I don't want to work in a bus. I don't. I have nothing but respect for those guys. Like, God, I've seen so many drunk kids in those and you know, psychotic assholes. People who just you wouldn't want to ever have to communicate with. And these guys have to put up with on a daily basis. You know, like, that is just... Oh, the patience required to do that job and to be able to put up with... I get a bit of road rage. I don't know about you guys, but I can't stand dealing with idiots on the road. It annoys me so much when people screw up on the road. Like even little things like not indicating. Like how many times have you almost been in an accident if you drive? How many times have you almost been in an accident? For me, it's in the dozens of times, and I can tell you maybe once, twice it's been my fault. Of course, I've made mistakes, especially when I started driving. But the vast majority of people are just ignorant. They don't care. They don't make an attempt. And imagine being a bus driver and dealing with that every day, dealing with the general public every day. I would not want to do that. And I bet if you offered them the same salary they're on right now for universal basic income, right? You said, we're replacing your job with a machine. We're saving that company a lot of money. That company has to pay a certain amount of tax due to these machines or whatever. And that's how the government's making their money back. Okay? The tax is covering that. And the tax from that is paying you. So there you go. You're still getting paid. Maybe not even entirely through money. Maybe if we want to try and curb that, maybe if we do it through tokens or something, right? Through here's how you get your food, here's how you get your stuff, and there's some money on the side as well, right? An entertainment allowance or something, right? And I don't care how it's done, right? We could do something like that. But I bet you if you offered any of these bus drivers that alternative, I bet the vast majority of them would take it in a second. Like, hey, you can go home and spend time with your wife and kids, and you can build that gazebo in your garden like you've been wanting to do, and you can go and learn more about mathematics or whatever you care about, right? Like, because you can do that, and we support that. Fine, go for it. Who wouldn't take that, right? Who would not take that? Everybody wants to take that. Hando says, and I'm lucky that AI will never be able to do my job. If you say so. You know your job more than I do. But I think that there's a good chance AI will take, I'd say, in 100 years, I would say over 95% of the jobs that we have right now. Easy. Anything that has any kind of repetitiveness to it will be AI, right? Anything. Or machinery, right? One or the other. Any office job, pretty much any office job, can probably be replaced by AI. Right? If you're a stockholder, AI. If you work in data input, AI. Data management, AI. If you work with servers, mostly AI. Maybe have an overseer, right? The jobs are going to reduce in every field regardless. Even AV or whatever else, right? Like even if you think your job will never not be taken over by AI, it'll be heavily assisted and there will be jobs lost, right? Think about freaking hell, what's that game called? Crap. Gears of War, right? That little machine they have with them that opens the doors for them and stuff. right? Little things like that. We've already started going towards the age of drones, right? And we've already started. Have you seen machinery recently? The sort of robots that can walk and stuff. That stuff's crazy, right? Their ability to like open doors and walk around. You know, it's not as good as ours, obviously, but you know what? It's going to be better than ours one day. It's getting there, and AI is going to be the way towards that. And if we can teach our robots to do that stuff for us, maybe it won't be a case of, you know, them doing it for us. Maybe it'll be a case of you're doing your job from a console, controlling 6 robots which are doing your job 6 times over. Maybe that's what it'll be, right? That could be the future. That could be the future. Plus, you know, maybe in the future we won't have cables. Maybe everything's going to be entirely wireless. If you suggested that 20 years ago with internet, people would have laughed at you. Wireless internet? That's ridiculous. And here we are, right? Wireless energy? That's ridiculous. We're getting close. We're getting very close. We've got very similar, phone cases now and stuff. You put down on here, right here. Right, I've got one right here for those on video. Everybody's on video. I've got a fast charger, right? Put your phone down on it, charges, right? Touch only. Eventually it's going to be charging by Wi-Fi. We've already got that kind of working in some test scenarios. Charging your devices wirelessly. It's going to be cableless, right? Fully cableless. That's interesting. The future is scary. Jeremy Corbyn has joined us in the IRC. Thank you for joining us, Jeremy. It's nice to have the head of the Labour Party join us. Remember that the employee will only work 40 hours per week max. If McDonald's is open 24 hours, that's 160 hours a week. That's at least 5 employees taking into account sickness and holidays. If a burger flipping machine costs less than £75,000, it's a good economy. Yeah, exactly. That's actually put my point more succinctly and with better numbers, right? It's much better to have a robot in place of a bunch of employees who are going to be sick, who are going to leave one day, who you're going to pay for them to get a pension and stuff, and they're not even going to be there when you're paying them. Machines don't want that or need that, right? Kuro says there is a point where civilization will regress and people will be living like cavemen again. I disagree. I think I can see the possibility, and I think some will. I think some will take the opportunity of, oh, I'm paid to do nothing. I'm going to sit in my house and watch Jeremy Kyle all day, right? Like, or whatever the US version of it is, Jerry Springer. I'm going to sit and watch reality TV all day and get fat. I imagine there'll be a lot of people do that. That'll be like the modern lower class, and the class system is not going to, in the future when we're all sort of just given the sort of equal pay, UBI stuff. I don't think it's going to be based on pay. It's going to be based on education, intelligence, and your own personal successes and your own hobbies. And that's how the culture will hopefully shift, right? It'll hopefully be a case of, hey, this guy really cares about photography, but he doesn't do anything. He sits on his ass playing video games all day, and he's really obese, and he's a failure in the eyes of society, right? Okay, that's fine. Or then you compare it to the guy who says, oh, I'm really into video games and that's my lifestyle, and I'm really nice and fit because I go out every day, and I'm in the top 10 in this game that I really love, and I stream it or whatever. Right? Hey, great, cool, you're doing what you want, and then that'll be the new way of getting respect in society instead of it just being based on money, which it mainly is now. And maybe attractiveness, who knows. Jeremy Corbyn also says Idiocracy was a great documentary. Yeah, it's pretty accurate, and it's scary how many parallels to the real life it has now. Actually, it's pretty terrifying. So there's that. I do recommend seeing it. Jeremy Corbyn goes on to say, ever heard the insult Luddite? It was textile workers who freaked out at the idea of automation ruining their employability. This led to them destroying the machinery in a social movement. The industry died, but our unemployment rates are still roughly the same. There is always stuff needing done. It's true. So I actually had a great argument last week, 2 weeks ago with some of my students, because I said to them, actually, I pulled up I was a little cruel to them, actually. Will my job be automated? There's a website called Will Robots Take My Job, right? Let me see if I can screen share this. Let me screen share this bad boy. Let me work out how to do that again. Give me 1 second. Chrome, hide IRC. Alright. Not that Chrome. I want this Chrome. There we go. Okay. So, enter your job, right? So, let's say fast food worker. Nice easy one. Hit go. There we go, fast food, right? 92% chance that the robots will take your job, right? Automation risk level, you are doomed. 92% of chance of automation. There's still massive growth in the sector, right? It's still going. Currently, there's 3 million people employed with a median wage of $19,400 a year. Right, that's pretty crap, right? Nobody wants to be on that kind of wage if they can be on more. Now imagine the government offered you $28,000 a year for you to do whatever you want to do, on top of a job. If you get a job as well, that's on top, right? That's extra. Fine. You know, you can do that if you want. That's totally cool. Maybe it'll be heavily taxed, but it can still be extra. Okay, what else? Let's do another. Right, let's do researcher. Scientists, right? That's kind of my job. Right, I'm gonna go with computer scientist. Okay, that's what I was saying, Hando, right? I think my job has a good chance of sticking around, because research generally does, right? Totally safe. 1.5% chance of automation. Still got very good growth. A very small number of employees, 26,000 it says in the US, I think. $111,000 median wage. That's nice. But like I said, the reason this is still a number is because there will definitely be people losing their jobs here, right? Automation will make people lose jobs across everything. Fishermen, pilots, right? Just name a job. This will never be 0%. There will be a percentage chance because AI always improves the efficiency of something in some way or another. Just in the same way that people probably thought, well, you know, McDonald's workers aren't really helped by technology that much. Yeah, think of all the machines that press the meat, the min stuff, that automates the customer service, right? All that stuff, even if you're still the chef of a top restaurant, the way that your food is processed before getting to you is still helped by AI. It still makes things more efficient, it still changes stuff, and that will affect how quickly you can put food through and how many chefs there need to be, right? Even in completely natural restaurants, there will still be some level of automation. You know, it's not going to be some guy carrying on horseback to the food to your shop every day, to your restaurant, right? It's still going to be somewhere online processed or helped by AI. Even the heuristics behind it will be helped by AI. Even if you don't even have a computer involved, somewhere along the line, the placement of the field as to where it should go in the country for efficiency's sake, probably going to be based on some kind of AI, all right? Every single field is going to be affected by this. Great website, do recommend it, willrobotstakemyjob.com. So I mentioned this to my students last week, and I made them tell me what they want to do. They said things like, I want to be a games developer, right? I typed it in, I think all it comes up with developer. So I said, well, that's going to be one of the two, right? You're either going to be a software developer or an artist. And I said, you got a good chance with the art side of things. But with the software developer, it's a little bit worse because, you know, code is already getting automated to an extent, so... but the point is, even if you think your job's safe, right, it's not always going to be safe. Where were we? So yeah, Jeremy Corbyn was talking about Luddites, right? Saying about the... So the reason I bring up the story about telling my students about this, I said to them, there's a good chance that you're going to lose your job. There's a chance you will... there will be some jobs lost due to AI, no matter what, right? And due to automation. And I said, do you think this is a good thing? And they said, no, I think it's horrible. And I went, okay. And I also said to them, so why don't we have monks writing our books anymore? They're like, what? What do you mean? I was like, well, you know, a couple thousand years ago, before the printing press. Let me find out when the printing. I don't want to lie here. Printing press date. All right, yeah, it was made in the 1400s probably, right? Okay, so sometime in the 1400s the printing press was made. So way before that, right? So let's just say any time less than 1400, for thousands of years probably. If you wanted to write something down and have that given out to the people, there were very few ways to do it. And plus, the biggest problem is people couldn't read, right? So you'd either tell people what you once said, so you'd have like town criers who would have a big bell, and they get told by the local barons or dukes or whatever monarch to run out to these towns and to shout out the news that's needed for the day. Taxes are going up. Make sure you go to church this Sunday. Right? All that stuff would have been shouted out, and those people had to memorize this information and go around. Right. Then we kind of got to a stage where, you know, reading got a bit better. People were reading more. And there was more demand for books and scripture, in particular Bibles and religious studies, right? And instead of just having one Bible for a country, which is really inefficient, what they decided to do is have, you know, hundreds of these Bibles, start selling them. And that's how a lot of these monks ended up why we needed monks, actually, for hundreds of years. A large reason that monks existed was because they were used as the educated people who could read and write. So what would happen would be one person would stand at the front, in front of like 100 monks, and they would read out loud saying, on the 5th day, Christ, right? And they'd read it out nice and slowly, and every monk would slowly write out exactly the word by word what's going on, right? And that is how we have books. Because originally that's how they did it. It was just literally by copying word for word, like bullet point for bullet point. Every single book was written out. And then one day in the 1400s, the printing press came out. And suddenly, these tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of monks around the world, right? All around the world. India, China, the UK, everywhere. There were these people copying books because that was the only way to do it. And translating it, right? All that stuff as well. So it had to be remade for each country. And instead of all this being written out by these monks, this freaking machine came along. Right? The printing press. Now let's look at this bad boy. Let's look at the printing press. This big thing here, right? This big bad boy. This is thanks to the Manchester Historian for this. Where you could just roll the wheels and the cogs and just turn the damn thing, and it would take the ink and it would place it based on what it had written on the barrel. So you'd write out the book or whatever it is once on this barrel, put ink on it, put it through some papyrus or whatever, some scriptures, and it would print it out, right? It was faster, it was more efficient, the person running it didn't need to be a specialist in any which way, didn't need to be educated, you could do many of these at once, right? So the 100 monks no longer need to be educated, you could save a lot of money, you could just have a bunch of random people in the village turning these things instead. In fact, you could get slave kids, right? Which was much cheaper than getting monks. And that's what they did. And you know, the monks were so mad. They said, well, you know, the monarchs are no longer paying us. They're no longer paying us for our frigging transcribing of materials. And so what's the purpose of us existing? And there was these huge revolts. They were so mad because they were losing their jobs and they were losing their livelihood. And, you know, monks still need to get paid somehow because they need to be able to afford their flour or whatever, right? They still need to afford their robes and pay their rent or whatever they did, or tax or whatever. And trade, so all that stuff, right? And suddenly they had this huge economy, this huge business just disappear overnight, and that was huge. And so I proposed this question to my students, like looking back 600 years, would you have changed it? Do you think they would have been in the right to have demolished, just like Jeremy Corbyn says in the IRC, to have demolished these new devices so that they could continue having their jobs? Was it worthwhile? Right now, looking back, for us today, and for the past 500 years, should we still be having people writing out, line by line, transcribing what is said, in order to sell books? I don't think anybody can ever agree with that. And that's exactly what's going to be in the future. We're going to look back at this yes, monks always say friggin'. We're going to be looking back on this in the future, in hundreds of years' time, thinking, wow, how ignorant were we? We actually thought that it was like a thing where people should not be replaced by machines. How ridiculous. Why would people waste their time selling groceries? Why would they waste their time doing things that are not what they love and are passionate about? Again, I have nothing but respect for people who work for a living. You know, if you work for your society, that's extremely respectable. That's an extremely respectable endeavor, regardless of what it is. If you're a garbage man, or if you're a top scientist, or if you're a businessman, I don't care. You're producing something for society. You're providing a service, and that's helpful in the end, right? It's almost always helpful. I have nothing but respect for that. But if we can make these people be free of their charge of working something they hate, and have them replaced by AI and machines that can do it for them, and let them go do what they're passionate about, I don't see why we'd ever not do it. It's cruel not to, really. But we need to get there, and it's going to be a hard change. And finally, Jeremy Corbyn says, interestingly, the word sabotage came from people throwing their clogs, called sabots, into machines. Ha, very good. I didn't know that. That's very good. Sabotage. Thanks for letting me know that, Jeremy Corbyn. It's nice to have the leader of the Labour Party join us in the IRC in the UK. Okay, Kuro says there are laws saying telemarketing industry has to be real people. Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it? It's almost as if these companies have, I don't know, have their best interests put into wait a minute. Lost in telemarketing industry has to be real people. Maybe in the US is a thing. I don't know about here. That's that's a strange thing. I don't know if I... Okay, so there's certain things where, like, when ethics is in regard, I think a human needs to be in the loop, or preferably a board of humans, right? Anything else, I'm not so sure. Maybe for efficiency's sake or whatever, but there needs to be for ethics. I don't see why telemarketing has to be real people. That one confuses me. Kando says, my job is dealing with chaos. It's not about mass production. True. But the question is, can that be fixed? I think of it as in a tree scenario, right? Can you at any point just repeatedly ask questions that would eventually solve any problem? So, like, say something's not working. You start at the top, right? You say overall, like I don't know, is the thing plugged in? Is there power? Is the lights on? Are we in the right building, right? All the way down to, is the AV cable connected from, I don't know, transporter B to the location 7, right? All the way down there. Could a yes and no series of questions eventually get to the answer of the problem? If the answer is yes, which I think it would be in most cases, an AI can fix it, right? Any problem. The problem is, can a robot move around a place where there's hustle and bustle and there's people and it changes from place to place depending where you're going? That's a more difficult problem that will come in hundreds of years. I'm sure eventually we'll get AI that are smart enough to navigate like humans do. Absolutely. Machinery as well. Absolutely. That will happen. But I just don't think it's going to be straight away. I agree. It's not for a while. Your job is probably not going to be in risk, but maybe if, like, your grandchildren did this job, it might be. I would say. Right? Kuro says, I at least hope I am an old man by the time all this happens. I want to be an old grumpy man living up in the mountains by the time AI controls everything. I wanted... you say controls everything. I don't think it's going to control human life in the sense of... I think it's going to be effectively they're like slaves. Right, I think they're going to be slaves, but without any emotions or harm being done to them because they have no feelings and they're not living. So there's no ethical issue here. I think it's going to be a case of, you know, why try and describe it myself? Why do I try and describe it even myself when I can just point to an example? Look at any science fiction utopia, all right? Any of them. Take Star Trek, but with even way more automation. There's not enough in it. There's nowhere near enough in it. The fact that they can just 3D print anything they want is cool. But that's not the only thing, right? There's a lot more to it. There's too many people there who have jobs, for one. That's a bit nuts. But if we think of it, I don't know. What's the name of that series? Ian M. Banks is the author. Ian M. Banks. The Culture series. If you think of the utopia of the culture, right, where basically, if you want to make your own planet, yeah, all right, we've got the resources, that's fine, we'll do what you need. Like, if you want to, that's cool. You don't need a job, you can do what you please. And like, at least in one of the books, one of the main characters is called Gergi. At least that's how I pronounced it anyway. And his, all he does is play games. Kind of like video games, kind of like board games mixed into one. The more complex, the better. And he's effectively like a professor at university who studies games and game theory and that kind of thing, which is a real field in the real world. By the way, game theory is a thing, big in computing science actually. And that's his purpose. He doesn't have to do it. He can retire any day he wants to, but he enjoys it. It's how he gets thrill from his life. It's how he enjoys it. And when he doesn't do it, he enters a depression because he gets bored. He gets to the point where he can solve pretty much any problem that is handed to him. And so he gets really bored, right? And eventually he leaves the utopia because he needs to seek a new challenge. But in that world, the utopia is insane. You have a device attached to your wrist that you can talk to. It talks to like the planet's sort of AI, and it will do whatever it needs for you. Anything, as long as it doesn't impede on the needs of others. But even then, you can just make another version of somebody if you want to or whatever. It's insane, right? That's the kind of stuff I'm thinking about in the future. Eventually, one day. It'll be the point where you're like, ugh, I'm so fed up with this house. I want to live in a mansion today. And that you can just have one printed out. It'll appear, right? That's the kind of crap we'll be in hundreds of years. I think that will be the future. When we can already 3D print houses, imagine what it'll be like when we can do it efficiently and it's the norm, right? It'll be insane. Eventually it'll be like that. We'll have so many resources available. Our recycling will be so top notch. You know, I want a new house, but the stipulation is maybe you can only have 5, so it'll just dismantle your old one, make it into your new one or something. Yeah, who knows? You want a new planet? Fine. It'll put it somewhere in the solar system that doesn't disrupt the flow of the other planets by AI. Who knows, right? That's the future. This is getting more fantasy science fiction than the near future, though, of course. This is hundreds of years in the future I'm talking about. And you know, nobody can even friggin' think about the future properly in that term. 300 years ago, if you asked how people would get around, they'd see really fast horses, right? They'd see amazingly fast horses, and they live for 50 years, right? Like, we can't even imagine it, so there's very little point in even trying. But there we have it. Okay, back to the IRC. Hando says, I want to be like in Factorio, where drones follow me all day and make things for me. Yeah, that's exactly what it'll be like. And they'll know you. They'll know you inside out. They'll have a profile on you. And you know what? They'll probably be able to read your mind and do it for you before you even ask them. That's what'll happen. Tabaxian says, nice. Help desk IT is still hanging in there. Just. Hey, remember when, even 20 years ago, when calling like anybody, any kind of telephone market thing, you would always end up talking to a person? Try that now. Try calling your ISP without talking to a robot. Try it. Good luck with that. Right? Like, that's already massively been reduced. Same with even technical stuff. We tried to replace that with web service crap, right? We tried to replace it with as many, like, web interfaces as possible. FAQs, stuff like that. We're trying our hardest. We're trying to replace as much as we can. Because nobody wants to work in help desk IT. Right? Like, if you could help it, would you not rather be home playing video games professionally and getting paid for it with a universal basic income? I think that's the same with most jobs. I think we all would. Too much time and too little money, then it will flip as always. Yeah, as always. Kuro says, the Chinese are still more efficient at producing goods with human labor than machines. Yeah, but that's because they still don't have enough human right laws. Yeah, like your Kuro says, that's probably due to US law. Anything that is not a person is considered a robocollar, which is legal in the US. Oh, right, okay. That's due to an old law to do with telemarketing. That makes sense. Okay, I understand now what we were talking about earlier. Tabaxian says, with enough time on AI, we'll figure it out. I disagree. I had a student argue with me this last week, and I think I proved them wrong. And I do research in the field of AI, so I'm not trying. Please don't take that as an. But I'm saying this not because I want you to appeal to authority. I want you to think that this gives me some credence, but you should still look up yourself, right? The same with anything I say, okay? On this kind of or anything in the world, you should say you should think with anything. Even if a GP tells you something, you should think that's great, and I accept that you know a lot more about this than I do, but I should also look into it and maybe get a second opinion on anything. So just take anything you hear with a pinch of salt. Is my point. I had a discussion with a student last week about this, and they said to me, with enough time in AI, we'll figure out any password. And I said, no, that's not true. Or he said, we'll break into any system. And I said, no, that's not true. And he says, okay, well, if we had a quantum computer, it could go through every infinite possibility in like instantaneously. Can it get through? And I said, no. And he went, how? How could it not do that? If it's like a perfect machine and it can calculate everything instantly, like infinite possibilities of every single character ever, it must be able to break through something. And I said, no. And he says, why? And I said, because it needs to ask the server, right? If you ask me about information I know, you know, if you try to input your password into Facebook 10 times, it blocks you, right? I mean, even if you can ask a billion, an infinite number of questions in a second, Facebook still won't accept them, right? It doesn't freaking matter how fast you can do it. You won't get through. You might overload the server, you might destroy your internet connection, but you're not going to get through. If you had something that could receive that data and was willing to receive it, maybe. But then here's my second point, right? This is assuming that assuming you somehow get past that first problem. There's another problem. Quantum entanglement. If you take two atoms and they are entangled, I don't know how much you guys know about encryption, but I think of it as I don't want to go into any technicalities here, but I think of them as keys, right? I am a computer. I'm a server, I'm Facebook, I'm Twitter, I'm whatever, right? And you want to access my data. You want to go on my website or whatever. And I say, okay, you want to sign up, that's cool. So you sign up to me and you let me know your details. I'm like, cool, okay, I've got them on record. And then I say to you, when you log in, use this password or whatever. Okay, here's your key. Here's your special key. Only you can log in with this. All right? Now, if somebody else generated 1 million instances, 1 billion instances, and worked at what your key was, they could definitely get in. Absolutely, I agree. But if the key I give them is not a combination of anything, it is not anything other than, here is an atom, and here is another atom, and they are quantum entangled. Right? Meaning that no matter where they are in the universe, if one moves, the other one moves as well, right? If one has a connection, they're constantly, perfectly connected, and they can communicate. You can see instant instant communication, instant transmission between the two, right? So if I say to you, here is your special key, it is this atom. And the only way I will ever let anybody into this account is if this atom wiggles. It doesn't matter how powerful your computer is. You can go through every single possible combination in the universe. So long as that little atom in my vault of atoms doesn't wiggle, I will never let you in. Right? And that's how you get past that problem. Okay? Now I hope I managed to simplify something that's a fairly complex issue, and I don't fully understand myself, because nobody does. It's quantum physics, right? But that's as far as my understanding goes. I'm a computing scientist. I'm not a physicist whatsoever. So please do take away. Again, pinch of salt. I'm ignorant in this completely. So that's as far as I know. But I believe that it would be completely impossible to ever crack that system. I think that is going to be finally when we make something truly secure. Of course, you can always just go get the atom, right? That's gonna be it's gonna be go back to physical security. You need to go steal that guy's atom, quantum quark or whatever. Okay, where did we get up to? Kuro says there are still scammy businesses that use them, but it's still against the law. My point is there are certain laws that probably exist all over the world that would make it difficult for robots. That's true, actually, Kuro. I never thought of it that way. That's an interesting point. Thank you for that. Tabaxian says CJP Grey did a video about it, about AI figuring it out. Okay, I'll have to watch that. Kuro says there are many visions of the future and no idea how the reality will be. Yeah, you're absolutely. Star Trek shows how Starfleet runs, but not how the janitors and workers on Earth. Star Trek, at least in the Next Generation, does show one thing, and I'd say this is quite indicative of the society, because it shows Picard's family as the winemakers, right? Traditional winemakers, they grow their own grapes on a vineyard. They mush up the grapes with their feet in basic machinery, and they produce real alcohol, not synthahol, right? And they're looked down on by society kind of as like this old hat thing, why are you bothering type stuff. But they still do it because they love it, right? That's pretty much it. It's just tradition. They keep going. If Ken doesn't mention Picard's mentor here, I'll be disappointed. Okay. So Picard's family is doing all this grape stuff, right? And they're mushing it up, etc. And the point is, if you actually read Picard's autobiography, which I read over Christmas, which is fantastic, really, really, really good read. You learn a lot about this family business and the likes, and actually Picard in his dying days does go back to the winery and actually learns to enjoy doing it himself as well, and that's how he dies. He lives on there till the end, which is a nice idea. It's a very nice story. But he produces all his wine and produces all his stuff by hand. But the point is, society looks at them as if they're an oddity. Like, why are you producing stuff? Why are you doing that? Why are you doing something by labor? Why are you trying? Right? And I think that's indicative of the society. And I think that kind of shows that, at least in Star Trek, they've reached a point where, in their sort of developing utopia, I will call it, where automation is paramount, but it's still not quite there. Because, for example, look at how they do things in Starfleet. They still send people down. Why are they not sending robots and drones? Like, why would you ever endanger real people? People die, right? People die frequently. Why are you sending out starships with people on them? That's insane. Why would you risk people's lives? Ever. You don't need to anymore. Like, we're already at a stage at war where we try to avoid sending in soldiers. We're at a stage of war where if like a few dozen like US or UK soldiers die, that's a huge thing. That's like a we'll have a holiday for it. That's insane. But 100, 200 years ago, look at the US Civil War. How many casualties were in that? US Civil War casualties. All right, let's look at that. That was a fairly recent conflict, right? American Civil. Oh, don't. Oh, come on, load. Sorry, I should really screen share this for you guys. Let me put that up. Okay, and hide the IRC. Okay, the American Civil War. This is from Wikipedia. It was 1861, right? So it wasn't that long ago. It was not that long back ago. Look at the strength of the units, right? 2 million on one side and about 1 million on the other. Casualties and losses, hundreds of thousands. 360,000 dead on one side, 290,000 plus dead on the other side. That is insane, right? Total up to 1 million plus dead. That's insane. And now we're at a stage where tens of people die, and it's crazy. Why would it be in the Star Trek world be a case where like quite a lot of people die, like starships explode, where there are thousands of people on it, and they see it as a normal thing? No, I don't believe it. It would not happen. We're not gonna get to that stage. We're at a stage where a few deaths are big, where a few violent deaths are big. That says a lot about how our society has grown. We don't always see it as that way, right? We kind of see it as, you know, it sucks when people died at all. Oh, sorry, I'm going into the next section. Let's go back here. We see it as a crazy thing that people are dying at all, which is good. It says such a good thing about society. It shows that we have grown as a society to the point where a few deaths are as meaningful to us now as hundreds of thousands probably were back then. All right, because we know how to. We've solved some of those issues. We use drones. We've perfected our techniques to such a point that we don't have people dying in war, and if they do, it's an incident. It's a crazy thing. It's usually friendly fire or something, some accident, you know. That's when you hear about it. It's crazy. But you are right though, Kuro. Star Trek doesn't fully show how everybody works, etc. We still have people working in bars, etc. But I think they mentioned even in 10 Forward on the ship that it's unusual that they have somebody working in the bar, but it's nice to have the human touch or the people touch. So they specifically say, like, you know, we could have a vending machine, but it's nice to talk to somebody there. So that's the way it'll be done, right? Eventually, we'll pay extra to go somewhere where we get served by a human being, because it's going to be an extra thing. It'll be nice. Oh, do you want to go to that human place instead of the normal restaurant? That'll be the future. Tabaxian says, physical cooking is a luxury. Exactly, right? It should be. The fact that a human set aside time to learn and perfect it as an art form will be so much better than just getting it done by like pressing a button on our fridge or whatever. That'll be the future. Tabaxian says, I do get paid at home playing video games while working. Now, AI won't be perfect, but that's true actually, Tabaxian, you do. I just mean, like, imagine if everybody can do that. I don't mean specifically you. I mean, imagine if nobody had to do that job anymore and everybody could just do what they wanted, is my point. The passion behind it, right? Just do something they're passionate about. And he goes on to say, now, AI won't be perfect, but it can learn pretty well. Hell, our brains are just computers. Our brains are biological computers, neural computers. Yes. But I would say the reverse, because you know what? That you can't say that our brain is a computer when the computer came after the brain. I would say the computer is a model of the brain, right? That's more accurate. We made computers to be model brains. We have the cerebral cortex, right? The part of our. Let me make sure. I'm not big on cortex. I don't want to get the wrong. Yes, that's the bit with consciousness. Yeah, okay, I want to make sure. I was a bit afraid there. Cerebral cortex is the outer layer of our cerebrum, composed of folded grey matter, and which plays an important role in consciousness, right? That part that we actually use for thinking, that's what we base our computers on. We don't base them on the reptilian part that does the instinctual things. Maybe we do with certain processing elements to do with checking internet connection or checking the mouse is still connected. Perhaps you could argue that. But the vast majority of our computers are based on human brains and the arithmetic and logic units in particular, right? That's based on how we do things. And the further we get in computing, the closer we get to it being more like the brain, right? The closer we get to computers being better, the more biological they become, or more modeled over biology they become. They act more like neurons, they act more like cells, they act more like synapses, right? The closer to that they come, the better they are. AI, right? Again, I'm going back to my field here, and I'm sorry for keep doing this, but so much of AI is based on evolution, right? It's so much of it. It is just, we know that it works because it's been proven again and again. I can show you algorithms that I can run, and in a second, they'll find solutions to really complex problems that could be found exhaustively. Like if you just try this different thing, okay, cracking a password, right? Say you have a 10 number password. Each one could be 0 to 9. If you do it exhaustively and try to find every single combination starting like all zeros, then all ones, then all twos, and then you keep going like that, right? That'd be probably the slowest way you could do it. But if you can get an evolutionary AI to learn the patterns that show up in passwords over time, right? Eventually, it'll crack them quickly, very quickly. So if you take any human password, if you took any random person's password, let's say your first boss, that's somebody completely random, right? Your first ever boss. Imagine your first boss has a password on their home computer, okay, or their phone. Is it going to be a random sequence of numbers and letters? Or is it going to be something that's kind of unique to them, that they remember, but every single human probably does a password in a similar way? I'm going to say the latter. And evolutionary AI, can learn from that. And that comes from biological stuff, right? That's entirely from evolution. We learn from evolution. We find the mistakes, cut out the mistakes, kill them off, let the good solutions breed, and pass on good genes. And that's all it's based on. Okay. Kuro goes on to say, I mean, there are ways of using data collection to make highly educated guesses at passwords. Yep, absolutely. But if you are smart, you should never use a highly personal password. I agree. Technically, you should open up a dictionary, preferably a different language, point to something random, maybe mix up the letters, add in a few numbers, and maybe some punctuation, and make it at least like 10 characters long, up to maybe 20. You'll pretty much be fine. You'll pretty much be fine. There are security holes everywhere, though. If not breaking in with personal attacks, an AI could be taught to check for all vulnerabilities known and probably get into most systems. And they do. Check out... I can give you a few systems, actually. Let's see. If you check out Kali Linux, it comes with a suite of these tools that are available that does automated attacks based on that kind of thing. Right? It will. You just point it to a server. You put an IP address. It'll try them all out. It'll scan the different ports. It'll check the FTP. It'll check all that stuff. Is this open? Is that open? Is that open? You can check all that. Right? That's all available. Easily done. That already exists. It doesn't need to be an AI. That's just a very simple heuristic. Kuro says, I just started watching TNG again. Good for you. Jeremy Corbyn continues to say, Boothby, yes, Boothby was great. The groundsman at Starfleet Academy. Remember the guy he sent Wesley to when he started? Pretty sure he was just there to nurture the grounds because it was what he loved. I think you're completely right. That's actually, I forgot about him. You're completely correct. And I don't know if he was... Yeah, I think he is called a mentor, actually. I think you're right. He's actually mentioned a bit more in the book, and it's expanded upon. Boothby's a cool character. I like his name too, Boothby. Sounds very homely. Hando says, cooking is 50% of the art of my life. See, it's funny how humans are so different that way. I mean, for me, cooking is just absolutely a chore. I've actually been looking at Huel in the past week. Have you guys heard of Huel? Let me put this up for you. It's a UK thing, I believe. I don't think you can get this in the US. But Huel is... Think of protein powders, right? Except instead of being a protein powder where it's a meal replacement for like one meal a day, Huel is a complete... let me read it out to you, but it's nutritionally complete. Nutritionally complete, convenient, affordable food with minimum impact on the environment and animals. So it's vegan, completely vegetarian, completely vegan, and it's made from zero food waste. £1.61 for a 500 calorie nutritionally complete meal. Where is... Okay, here's the heal powder. Let me... Oh, come on. Yeah, that. Fine. You also get gluten-free version if you're interested. Okay, it's made up of real food, apparently. It's processed, right? It's like made in a powder, so it's processed heavily. But oats, brown rice, pea, flaxseed, sunflower, and MCTs from coconut, which has been turned into powder for convenience. But admittedly, yeah, it's been processed. So always think about the processing, right? That's important. 100% vegan. Yeah, here we go. So here's all the stuff it's got. Ultra-fine oats, brown rice protein, pea protein, flaxseed, MCTs from coconut, sunflower oil powder, vitamin and mineral blend, and vanilla flavoring and sweetener, or not if you want to do the unsweetened, unflavored version, which you can do. And I guess your exact amount of nutrition for somebody who does 2,000 calories a day. Now, you can do this to complement your normal diet. Like, you can have like normal meals as well as having this sometimes. Or you can just do it as a complete, you just eat this, and some people do. I didn't really quite believe this you could survive on this. Like, I didn't think it was a thing. I thought you would die. I honestly thought you would starve. So I looked up some people's reviews on it, and they're quite funny actually. Because there's two things. One, you don't stop farting. You fart a lot. You fart like a trooper if you take this stuff non-stop for weeks, for months, however long you take it, you will keep farting. And two, you go through like withdrawal in the first week or two because you feel the need to chew things. Like you have like a biological need to chew, and you feel like there's something missing in your life and you can't quite get out of your head, and it's like an addiction, almost, they say. But after a week or so of that, well, if you get past that, you stop being so hungry throughout the day. Apparently, you feel a lot better, healthier, yada yada yada. People say it clears their skin, whatever. I'm very hypercritical of this kind of stuff, right? I mean, admittedly, it does look as nutritionally complete, but I don't trust vitamin blends and stuff like that, like multivitamins. They don't work. Or oh, sorry, I won't say that. That's unfair. There is very little scientific proof that says it has any particular negative or beneficial respects to our life, right? Like any vitamin additions. If you get it from your food, that's great, but if you have it added in, there's very little benefit recorded. Take that for what you will. So I'm very critical of that. I don't know how good that is. But my point is, Hando says food is like 50% of the art of his life. For me, it's completely functional. I'm tempted to live on this. If I could live in an IV drip where I could just never have to eat and never have to do dishes, I'd probably do it. Yeah, I probably would if it was economically viable. And I'm really tempted by this because it just seems like it's the future. It's not a way of looking at food in either a gluttonous respect, like we do, which is a problem in the West, right? We have a really big problem with the gluttony and the greed. And secondly, we have a problem where we look at food as either a chore or an art form. But that's fine if you really enjoy food. And I do enjoy food. Don't get me wrong. I do really enjoy food. And I think it should be. I think that's what it should be for. Is just for being enjoyed. But I think for the base level of nutrition, I'm happy for that just to be a ticky box, get it over and done with. And that's why I kind of like this idea. I just down one of these in the morning, down one of these at lunch. Don't think about it otherwise. Get on with my life. I love the idea of the efficiency behind that. But I am a weirdo. I am a weirdo for that, and I know that. I recognize that I am a strange person for that idea. Kuro says less than 3. I heart cooking. I enjoy it as well, but only the Christmas Day for some reason. I guess so. I enjoy it once a year. Kuro says you can try making cooking scientific, but then it gets boring. It's the artistic touch and unknown variables that make food enjoyable. I agree. But let's say that a computer learns to follow a Michelin star chef recipe to the T. Say it watches the Michelin star chef do it. Not even the recipe the person writes down, right? Say it's the recipe that he or she does in practice in person, and this AI watches them do it 100 times. And then the AI has the same level of randomness, adds the same level of mix into it, etc. I'd be happy to eat there for a tenth of the price. Why wouldn't I? Right? But again, I'm being controversial here. I still really, really think food should still be an artistic thing, but I don't think it should be. I think it should be more of a functional thing at the base level than the artistic thing should be enjoyed on special occasions or just occasionally. Maybe once a day instead of 3 times a day, right? I would rather food was just something it was so secondary in my life. And plus, If we do this, we would save the world a lot because we wouldn't need to, you know, it would all be vegan. That'd be pretty nice. I mean, I love meat, don't get me wrong, I love the taste of it, but ethically we should probably be vegan. Like, I do agree with the ethics of veganism. I love meat too much, and I'm happy to admit I'm an asshole for doing it. And once we can synthetically grow meat, I'll do it. Straight away. I will eat that synthetic meat instead. But I'm tempted by Huel, and that's the only way I'd probably be able to go vegan right now is something like this. And if that helps the environment, whatever, great. Maybe I should do it. Maybe I should, even if not for me, but for ethical reasons. Maybe I should. I might try this and see what you guys think. Well, but for the future, sometime in the future. TNG is great. There are a good share of clunkers, though. Yeah, there's a few bad episodes. But I never see it as something that I would watch and not do anything else. It's always a background show for me anyway. I mean, I really enjoyed it, but it's... Like, I miss the characters. I really enjoyed the crew, and I love Picard. He was so wise. I love the fact they keep showing his youthful ignorance and how he grew. I love that. I want to watch Deep Space Nine again, says Kuro. I haven't seen it yet, and I need to. I've also not seen the new Star Trek. People keep asking me about it, and I've still not seen it yet. Hando says, all the doctors I work with say vitamin pills are a waste of time and money. Absolutely. Absolutely. They absolutely are. I don't think we know why. Like, I think the science is out on this. I don't think we have a particular reason why. Maybe it's the act of chewing. Maybe vitamins when they're in... Or minerals when they're in a living being or ex-living being, like meat or plant. Somehow we can absorb them better. Or somehow we can... I don't know. They can be absorbed. That's the thing. If you take a vitamin pill, you can see it pee out of you, right? Your pee turns a bright yellow and you smell it because we don't absorb it. It gets turned into water and then peed out, right? We urinate out. It's a waste product according to our body. Like, we know that, right? If you've ever taken vitamin pills for more than like a few days, you know that. Sadly, the science is out. I know Wayne would disagree. We talked about this before, right? He takes quite an expensive multivitamin every day, and he says that, hey, if it doesn't do any harm, then so be it. It's worth the risk to try and make it something good or whatever, right? But I don't know. I'm going to follow the science on it. I'd rather follow what the scientists are saying, and right now there's no benefit. So which makes me confused. If you're somebody who has like a vitamin B deficiency, do the doctors give you a vitamin B like injection? I thought they did. But how does that work? Does that get absorbed? Does that work? What if you're lacking iron? You're supposed to take iron tablets, right? If you're a girl and you're on your period, you're supposed to take iron tablets, right? To replace those lost blood cells. Right? But if we can't absorb stuff that way, I'm confused. I need to look this up because I don't know this. So, or if somebody can inform me, I'd love that. Let me know. How come iron tablets and the likes are recommended when multivitamins are not? That seems a bit strange. Hando says they give you the shot because it can be absorbed in the blood. B12, yeah, B12, that's right. But so does that mean it can't be absorbed from the stomach? But how come food is? But vitamins are not. I suppose that's where the science doesn't know, right? That's where we're stuck. I think that's why we don't know at that stage. Okay, that's been a good chat. I planned for that to fill up 50 minutes. It's been an hour 40. That's funny how that happens. I bring up one random topic and it ends up just going on for that long. So that was Dysfunctional Deviations. Perhaps we should move on to the Geekoscope so we do some gamer stuff so that we still earn our Twitch license. Otherwise, I don't think we'd be allowed on it. Because we should be doing that. Okay. So, sorry, I got a couple messages on Facebook and it distracted me. Okay, so let's go into IGN, because that's my go-to. And I want to do it for PlayStation 4 as well as for PC. But before I go into these topics, I want to talk about the games I've played a little bit. Let's do a little bit of geek cred. And let's... actually... Let's do it properly, and let's do that, and then let's do geek cred. Is that music? Okay, here we go.
I'm a geek. Are you a geek? Geek cred, level up!
Okay, there we go. We're in the geek cred section. Hello. We're not taking a break today because I kind of forgot to, even though my throat's kind of killing me. But please excuse me. I'm going to take a quick drink of water so I can continue. Okay, here we go. So in terms of Geek Cred this week, I played a bit of PlayStation. Because I have a PS4 now, for those who don't know. I don't play PC games anymore because my PC died, and I got the PS4 for Kitten Features, and since it's the only games console in the house, we end up both playing it quite a lot. In the past week, I've mainly been playing Fortnite on and off with Graham, which has been really good fun. So I want to talk a little bit about Fortnite. So, hands up in the IRC, who here's been playing Fortnite? Do you enjoy it? What are your thoughts? And I'd love to hear more, because I think it's a really fun game. It's free to play, and I get really annoyed at it. Right, like it's one of those games that you want to do well in, and I keep getting second place. You know that I keep getting second place out of 100. But out of dumbness. Like, I just sneak around. I might get a couple kills, maybe occasionally, but that's it. But before we go into this, let's go into our very first email, and our only email for today, from Tom Bad Guy. This says, number 1. I've been playing the Secret of Mana remake that came out this past Thursday. PS4 disc, and the game has crashed 12 times. Oh jeez, 12 times on me. So a public service announcement for everyone wanting it that hasn't got it yet: wait till it's patched. That's terrible, dude. Thanks for letting us know. That's really sad. You think with PlayStation especially, or with consoles, it's going to be especially polished. I mean, on Steam, etc., you kind of accept that it might not be, especially as like early access or whatever, kind of like Fortnite is. But man, that is sad. Number 2 is, you can pop out the Twitch chat and just have it up as a side window to view. I'm on my phone and I can't watch the stream and the IRC at the same time. The more you know. But isn't the IRC in the stream? I'm confused. I mean, what we need is some kind of like conglomerate chat where we can have the YouTube chat, because you can do that on YouTube too, where we have the VTW. Oh, sorry guys, there's somebody's stream playing over this. Where we have the YouTube, we have the YouTube, we have the Twitch, and we have the IRC, all grouped into one chat that everybody can see somewhere. But that's impossible, I think. Maybe it's a programming challenge for me or something. I'll have a think about that. But that would be ideal, because then we could have people chatting in all three places, and that would be nice. But that's the thing, right? People want different services. People prefer YouTube. Some people prefer the Twitch. Some people prefer the audio stream, but we've now killed that, so that's gone. But that's just the way it is. But IRC is still the oldest one, and it's the easiest one that we have. And plus, we have, as Kuro says, there are chatbots. Oh, they'll do it for you. That's pretty cool. But we actually have chatbots in the IRC. Not that they're particularly useful. They used to be a lot more useful. I think VTW Radio Bot's kind of dead now. I think we need to try to revive it, because the Radio Bot used to be quite fun. You could actually talk to it, and it used to answer questions and stuff. But it's not smart anymore. Hando says Gnome figured how to meld them, but it's a big pain in the ass. That doesn't surprise me. And Kuro says using bots in YouTube or Twitch are probably against the TOS. That's probably true. And again, I could have them both up in the stream at the same time. That's a big pain in the butt to do. I mean, like, that means that you guys... I like being able to turn on the chat, turn it off for you in the stream, and show you my screen share as well at the same time. That's kind of nice. So I'd rather not do that, but we'll see. In the IRC, Jeremy Corbyn says, "Oh, you mean PUBG for kids?" Talking about Fortnite. Oh, you mean that one that people are playing more? You mean that one that's massively now beating PUBG in the numbers? Yeah, that one. The one that's actually free to play and you don't have to pay an extortionate amount for a kind of buggy game. That one. Yeah, that one. To be fair, I'd probably play PUBG more because I prefer the realism, generally speaking. I actually like realism in games. But the problem is that I don't know how easy it would be to... well, it's not available on PlayStation, is the main problem for me, really. So, yeah, I'm going to play the free one instead, the one that I play with friends, the ones that I enjoy, and the one that has the most attention in the world, and therefore probably, 1, make more money, and 2, get more development time. Like, I'm really looking forward to what they do in the future. Right now, it's only one map, unlike PUBG, and it's still beating PUBG, but I'm looking forward to the future when they have more maps, etc. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be really exciting. So who here is playing Fortnite, if anybody? Like, I've not had anybody raise a hand yet. Oh, I've got some Geek Cred in the IRC though. Tabaxian says, Geek Cred playing Civ 6, Rise and Fall. That's cool. I've still not picked up Civ 6, and of course I'm not going to now. But I don't know if I like the direction they took with Civ 6, but again, I can't really comment until I play it. But I don't like the idea of it. Let's say I don't like the cartoony nature they've taken. I don't know why they did that. And Hando says, Geek Cred, I met Brian Ibbott at a meetup in Boston. I am very jealous. I'm a big fan of Brian Ibbott. That's very cool. For those who are interested, Brian Ibbott is on multiple podcasts, actually. I know him from the morning stream on Scott Johnson's podcast on Frog Pants. You may have heard of before, probably have. Great podcast, really, really worth listening to. And Brian Ibbott is a really top geek, good guy, and our favorite bald person. He also does Coverville, which is like the world's #1 podcast for cover music. You know, where people cover other people's songs, that kind of thing. Hando says, I've been playing Fortnite with some peeps. What are you playing on, Hando? Let me know. And what do you think of it? And how do you play? How have you been doing it in terms of quality of play? Have you been getting a high ranking or what? Let me know. So I think I've now got like 6 hours, 7 hours logged in it or something like that, which isn't much. But so far I've come number 2 in team play and squad mode, in duo and in solo, especially in solo several times. I keep coming number 2 because I'll get to number 2 without any kills, right? Or maybe one luck kill. But I find that if I ever get into combat, I die. Right? I suck at aiming on console. I suck at jumping around while shooting at the same time. And even more so, the fact that you have to build and, like, defend yourself with buildings on the fly while trying to attack. I can't do it, right? I'm an old man. I can't adapt to this nearly as quickly as I once could have. And I really am struggling with it. I'm tempted to... So you can play apparently keyboard and mouse on PlayStation. I'm very tempted to do so because it would probably give me a bit of a boost. But right now I can't shoot for crap. Right? I am absolutely terrible at it. Really, really, really bad. And so what happens is so yeah, there's a giant map, for those who don't know. This huge map, and there's 100 players, and you all come in on this thing called the battle bus. Think of it as like an airship. And at any point while it's going over the island, you can jump out this bus, and you fly down, you skydive down. And then when you're like 50 meters or something above the ground, your parachute or your glider or whatever appears. And then you can land wherever you want to land. So doing this, you can kind of land anywhere on the island, really. But even though the battle bus goes a random direction across the island, if you skydive correctly, you can land wherever you want to go, right? That's fine, you can do that. So there's 100 people spread across the map. Now on this map there are some towns and some villages and some like depots and some like farms, and it's a mix, right? It's quite a large map. It would take you maybe 15-20 minutes to traverse it running, so in any direction. So it's quite a big map. And each different area has a bunch of different weapons randomly spawning. And also boxes full of loot, which have things like shields, so your armor, grenades, traps, and there's also materials you can collect, such as wood, metal, and bricks, which you can use for building. Now, that sounds like this game would last for hours, right? A huge map, 100 people spread across it. The reason this is actually quite a quick game, like maximum maybe 15-20 minutes, is because there's a storm that appears. And I say a storm, I think of it as a shield. Like this shield appears around the entire map and slowly moves in to a random point, right? And you're told where that point is over time. Like this, you see this one big circle, then you see the next circle, then you see the next circle, and the shield slowly moves in towards the circle. And where the circle is like I said, is kind of random. I think it's based on the number of players, but I don't know for certain. And your job is to try and stay inside the circle, because otherwise you slowly die. Because they call it a storm, so you're getting like shot by lightning or whatever, I guess. Die by exposure. And so, if you have 100 people, and they're all landing across it completely randomly, more or less, admittedly, most of them go towards towns, so in the first, like, 10 seconds of the... Nah, that's a lie. First 2 minutes of the game, you'll lose maybe 25% of the populace of the map, because they just land in the same place and shoot each other. The rest of them will slowly move in, and after 10 minutes, you'll maybe have, like, 10 people left. And then they're on this tiny bit of the map that's maybe like 100 meters by 100 meters as opposed to the original 10k or something. and it's still getting smaller. So eventually you have to shoot each other, and that's kind of the premise, right? You have to try and survive. So there's multiple ways you can do this. You can fortify, you can build a big base, and you can put traps around it, which are pretty rare and hard to find traps. You can have a squad, a team, where you work together and you defend together and you help each other and stuff. You can do a scavenger and find as much good weaponry as you can. Maybe pick up some rockets so that you can take down other people's structures. Or you can be like an assassin who just tries to take out the people who are alone as much as they can, sneaking around and stuff. You can camp if you want, and it's completely fine to camp. That's part of the story, it's part of the game. And plus, because of the storm moving in, you can't stay in the same place the whole time unless you're very lucky. Or you can do what I do, which is a mix of sort of camping and being really stealthy and scavenging, right? So I'll land somewhere kind of useful that's not too city-like, because I don't want to die straight away. I'll collect some stuff, and by the sort of end game where I'm the last 10 people, I'll have a bunch of really nice equipment, right? I'll really have nice stuff, usually. And maybe a couple of legendaries. And if I'm lucky, I'll have a kill. And then usually I'll be a sneaky bastard up until the very last minute when there's like 2 other people left, and we're in this tiny like 50 meter by 50 meter, 20 meter by 20 meter little circle, and I'll still be hiding in a bush, right? Like I'll let them 2 duke it out, because you know, you shoot who you see. Why would they be looking for the guy hiding in a bush when they want to try and win and don't want to die? So they're going to kill the one that they can see. You're not going to be searching for somebody when you already see somebody, right? Like if you're worried about the threat that's coming towards you, not the one hiding in the bush, right? That's the thing that you care about. So, but with that tactic, I keep coming second. The problem is, at that stage, I'll try and sneak around and try to like shotgun the guy in the back or whatever, but I can't aim for crap. And what will usually happen is that I'll either sneak up on them, I'll shoot them, they'll turn around and shoot me, but I'm the one that dies, because I just miss, or I only hit their hand or something, and they just turn around and headshot me while jumping in the air or something, right? I'm just terrible at that. I'm so bad at combat. But that's my style of playing, and it's a really fun game. In the IRC, we have Hando saying he plays it on PC. It's just been casual with another game group. That's cool. The end game is the most interesting in Fortnite. It absolutely is. Yeah, it's really, really fun. It can be a bit, if you play the stealthy approach, it can be a bit dull throughout otherwise. And yeah, aiming in those games is really janky. That's a good phrase, yes. It is definitely janky. Whatever that may mean. So yeah, I've been really enjoying Fortnite. It's a lot of fun. Thank you for the mixed geek creds from the email and the IRC. Much appreciated. I think we should now have our last 5 minutes where we go into the Geekoscope.
Technology, news, and more today on the Geekoscope.
Alright. So in the Geekoscope, we talk about whatever we feel like in terms of articles and such, mainly to do with gaming. So I'm going to use IGN as a source here today, just so you know. And I'm going to look through the articles and see if there's anything in particular that jumps out to me. If you have anything you'd like me to discuss, please let me know, and I will do so. I still haven't bought Monster Hunter World, like I said I was tempted to last week, by the way. I'll probably wait till it comes down in price, but it does still look interesting. But as usual, it'd be good to see if people are going to still be playing it in the future at some point, because that's the really difference of knowing if it's going to be good or not, right? Oh, there's something we need to talk about. This is big news, and I shared it on the Facebook page for those who follow us there. Diablo 4 has been announced. Whew, that's big. Right, so, as expected, there's loads of hype for Diablo 4. Wait a minute. What's this article from? That's March 14th. Yeah, this is correct. Okay, as expected, there's loads of hype for Diablo 4, but rumors of a BlizzCon 2016 launch failed to materialize. Instead, we got a remake of the original Diablo. However, fans continue to speculate about Diablo 4 surfacing at some point, so here's what we know so far about Diablo 4 release date, news, rumors, and more. So it's not actually been announced yet, I think. Which is a shame, because I thought it had been. The way that I read it elsewhere was that it had been, so that's a little annoying. Let's see what it was. I'm going to check this Unilad video. So it's because they're hiring, right? So they're hiring for a Diablo game, and so that's what people think that. Okay, so there's a big possibility of a future Diablo game. So we will see what happens. It'd be cool if there was, because I really enjoyed playing Diablo 3 recently. I played all the way through it, and it was a lot of fun. Okay, other than that, let's see. Steam has now banned a dev over fake... Oh, shush. Jeez, I hate auto-playing videos. Steam has dropped the ban hammer for review manipulation, which is pretty crazy. Review manipulation ban Steam. I got an IGN, there's a video, and I don't want to do that. Okay, Maltese publisher banned from Steam for review fixing. Incel Games has been banned from Steam for its reviews of the latest release, Wild Buster Heroes of Titan. In an email leaked to Reddit, the company's CEO appears to be asking employees why they haven't purchased the game and left a review. Although they don't specifically ask for a positive review, the chief executive seems to take issue with the fact that some members of staff have been reluctant to purchase the title and leave feedback. What? Since when does a job require you to buy the product that you're selling? That's insane, guys. That's insane. This is from Gamma Sutra, by the way. That's the website we're using today for this. I don't want you guys to think I'm stealing their content without giving them fair, credit. So that's pretty crazy. What they did is, although they haven't specified for positive reviews yada, in mostly a thinly veiled threat, they add that anyone who doesn't buy Wild Buster will be asked to discuss their decision in person. And here's a quote from the email. I cannot force you to write a review, let alone tell you what to write, but I should not have to. Neglecting the importance of reviews will ultimately cost jobs. So I'm asking you to do either the following: buy the game and present me with the receipt until Friday night, for which you will be reimbursed in 24 hours, or explain to me tomorrow why you do not wish to do this. I would like to discuss this individually and privately with each of you. I mean, if you really love your job and your company and you want to do that, that's fine. You know, like, you do as you want. You can put forward your review. You have the right to do that, right? I don't see it as a problem. The problem comes when your CEO is telling you to. That is the scary thing. All right, that'll do for articles today. So thank you very much, everybody, for listening. I'm going to try to end this in a very elegant manner, but we'll see how this goes. Okay, let's finish up the IRC anyway. Dude, I want Monster Hunter really bad, says Hando. All autoplay videos must die. Okay, thank you. Yes, that's true, and that's also true. I do want it too. It looks awesome. Okay, you have been listening to ShowX on VTubeRussians.com. You can find us on VTubeRussians.com. You can find us on Twitch.tv. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Twitter.com/GoHex, Twitter.com/VTWShowX, Twitter.com/DocDead. You can find us in the art contest. Please do go take part. We now have 3 contestants. We need more. Take part in ShowX board within the forums on VTubeRussians.com. You can also help us on patreon.com/showx. Your pennies are much appreciated. It keeps the show running and it is much appreciated. And you can also check us out on facebook.com, search for showx there, and also send emails to showx@vtructions.com. And I think that's it. Thank you all very much for joining us. We will see you next week.
Goodbye. See you next zombie.